The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
All right, here we go. It's a Friday, a football Friday. So we get you all set for Tennessee, Arkansas, and the weekend that is only made better by the college football playoff and the fact that games matter more during the regular season. I'm joking. I'm just trying to get under Caleb Calhoun's skin a little bit as we start the program. Danico Slaughter and Addison Nichols are named captains against the Vols, which is a little strange. Danico Slaughter, can he help Arkansas? I actually believe he can. Now, this one's going to make some of you mad later in the program because I believe that Caleb and I have been wrong when it comes to James Pierce. We have argued that James Pierce has played just as well, even though he doesn't have a sack. We've said that, but the numbers don't necessarily back it up according to Pro Football Focus. So we bring you objective coverage here, and that's what we're going to do. Ollie Lane will join us at 10:30. We look forward to that this day in Tennessee sports history. Sorry, Ollie is going to be at 11, I believe. So we'll get to Ollie and also stat of the day. Our last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn will be a little bit later in the program as we'll take a look at those week 6 bets. If you want to super chat anybody, you can do that. And all the money goes to Quincy Calhoun, Caleb Calhoun's a 3-month-old son. So there you go. We're not going to ask you to tithe like maybe some other channels, as certainly we recognize there are more important places that you can put your money. Namely, if you don't want to give it to Quincy Calhoun, I understand, but definitely you can give it to the Hurricane Helene Relief Fund. It's just been terrible in that area. Man, tragic. And Caleb, I don't know how many but friends you have on Facebook. If you're a Facebook guy, I accept everybody on Facebook because basically since Facebook's been around, it's helped me spread the work that I do. So a lot of these people aren't my friends, so to speak. But Caleb, I've had a couple of different posts that people have said, well, I don't have a home. I don't have anywhere to go. I guess I'll just sleep in the woods. I mean, there's some people that are really suffering. So if you're a praying man, pray for those people, praying woman, pray for those people. And you're definitely in the hearts and prayers of Off the Hook Sports. So again, I want to put that up there one more time. If you want to commit anything, you can do that right there to the Hurricane Helene Relief Fund. And I did some betting, so we know that's a good one, and it doesn't go to some CEO making $250,000 in Atlanta. So, Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I am good. Happy Friday. How are you doing, Dave?
Never better. I'm ready to get off and rolling, and we've got a lot to get to. Now, one of the things that I'm interested in talking to Ollie Lane a little bit later in the program about is have some of their fans become a little spoiled? Because I repeatedly am taken aback by the fact that the Oklahoma game wasn't considered a monstrous victory in Josh Heupel's career because they didn't throw the ball all over the yard. But we'll get to that with Ollie Lane, the former Vol, and we'll discuss Addison Nichols as well, as he has been named a captain for the University of Arkansas. Him and Danico Slaughter. What the H brought to you by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. The show represented by Banks and Jones. Other lawyers say they'll go to trial. They won't. Banks and Jones will. Don't settle. Don't settle for less. BanksandJones.com.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Okay, so Caleb and I meet every morning. What, 3:45? Isn't that right, Caleb?
Oh, yep. 3:45.
3:45. That's our AM production meeting. And he's every once in a while he catches me off guard a lot, actually, because Caleb is fantastic in what he does, and he knows about a lot of things that I don't know about. I surprise him on occasion, but he's the young cat out there working the interweb, and he found something. It wasn't difficult to find, but I didn't see it. And it's a little bizarre, in my opinion, as Arkansas has named their captains. Who did they name?
Arkansas decided to name Danico Slaughter and Addison Nichols as captains for Tennessee for the Tennessee game this Saturday.
Okay. How does this strike you?
I think it strikes me as I think it strikes me as an attempt to steal headlines. I don't even think it's disrespectful. I think it's an attempt to maybe motivate his players and get a few headlines in the process and have a little fun. But I think it I mean, I haven't done this before, Dave, but it officially has me putting Sam Pittman in the Eli Drink with Shane Beamer category.
And what is that category?
Goofballs who focus on headlines as much as anything else. And because this is just lame.
Well, nobody is higher on that list of goofballs trying to manufacture news than currently Shane Beamer. But as far as all time that I've ever seen, it was Butch Jones. I mean, if he got a commitment or even got close or got a confirmed visit, he was on the phone with every recruiting analyst that would possibly listen to him. And he was trying to talk to national analysts, getting them an extra star. So, Caleb, this isn't quite to that level, but to me, it's a little goofy. And I will say that I thought a captain was supposed to be somebody who best represented your team leading into that week. Well, we saw that wasn't the case when Florida named an offensive lineman a captain after he completely dogged it on an interception return the week before. So, Caleb, the whole captain status to me is befuddling. I think you should award people in what they've done during the week, but I feel like a lot of these PR arms of the universities already have it set in stone and have the graphics made, and basically Addison Nichols and Danico Slaughter could go out there and quit in the middle of the team and maybe still be named captains for the game.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm going to say what it reminds me of. And it's a guy that, as a Titans fan, I despise, who I think was the most overblown coach of all time. And I'm obviously talking about Jeff Fisher, and who was also arrogant as heck. But in 2014, when Jeff Fisher was with the Rams, he decided, because RG3 had started to flame out with Washington, when the Rams played Washington, he decided to send out all the players the Rams acquired in the trade for RG3 in the draft 2 years before. He decided to send them all out as team captains to make fun of Washington for RG3 struggling. I'm like, okay, you can make fun of Washington for RG3 struggling, but you guys went 6-10 that year, and Jeff Fisher was the coach at the Rams for 5 years and never made the playoffs. So you look lame and stupid and pathetic doing that. I'm going to go that way with Sam Pittman. It'd be one thing if like Tennessee was like 5-0, or I'm sorry, if Tennessee was 3-2 and Arkansas was 5-0, and you're trying to do this because like, we got your players and we're better than you. But you're 3-2. Nobody thinks you're better than Tennessee.
No, and here's my problem with it, because I do have a bigger problem than you, is I think it's kind of rubbing Tennessee's nose in it and trying to portray that Arkansas won some transfer portal recruiting battle for these kids. I mean, that wasn't the case. Danico Slaughter, 110% was told, hey, you can cruise, and probably should. Addison Nichols, not that strong. They probably would have kept him around. But the bottom line is he was going to find second string once again with William Satterwhite and what he's been able to do at backup center. Guys, he's going to be really, really good. And maybe physically next year as good as Cooper Mays. Now, mentally, that would be asking an awful lot. So I see you have the poll question up, but I would like to reset that a little bit along the lines of Arkansas naming former Vols Danico Slaughter, Addison Nichols versus captains for Tennessee is pathetically braggadocious, or you've got all in good fun. I can roll with that, but I want to reset it to some extent because I think it's a little pathetic, to be real honest with you. If Tennessee played Oregon State, would they have Jermod McCoy as a captain just because they're playing Oregon State? I don't think so. I don't think they would do the same for Dante Thornton if they played Oregon. For all of you out there that might say Josh Heupel took his foot off the gas and might have an issue with that's fine. But give him this. He is a legit dude. When he names a captain, I believe that person is actually supposed to be a captain because of their practice work ethic on the field. So, Caleb, I want to get your thoughts on that as What the H today, brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Banks & Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, if I was a player at Tennessee, that would get my attention that those guys were named captains. And they have to meet at midfield. So this is one of those situations, Caleb, where we talk about pregame chatter and how it affects a game. And everybody says, well, once you start hitting, all that stuff's gone. That's true. But I've often said, like when Josh Heupel ran up the score against Missouri, it's how they practiced the week before and how they might develop a special game plan because you chucked one on him to run up the score in 2022. But Caleb, in this particular incident, I don't think that it affects the game. However, I just think it sets for a really, I believe it puts more pressure on Nichols and Slaughter than need be. They already probably felt a lot of pressure because they're playing their former team. Now they're captains, Caleb.
Yeah, and you're right. You brought up a great point earlier, where you're like, captains, when you're trying to have a good team, you're focused on what, not that you don't study film and you don't study other opponents and things like that, but when you're developing your team and your chemistry, you're focused on yourself and your team and what's around you, right? This is very clearly focused on other teams. I mean, that's the only reason you do something like this. Does Sam Pittman really believe Danico Slaughter and Addison Nichols are the two best leaders on this team?
No.
This year? I mean, there's no way. And by the way, I'm going to add this. We talked about it earlier in the week, or actually we talked about it yesterday. Addison Nichols taking kind of that shot at Josh Heupel. Arkansas's done this is a form of chirping. And Arkansas is doing a lot of chirping right now. And maybe we're seeing why Squirrel White was not that fond and took some things personal with Danico Slaughter on Monday. Maybe there's a lot more there because it just seems like Arkansas has some level of resentment or bitterness involving those two players that is not typical of transfers usually.
Yeah, and those guys often talk. And sometimes they even root for each other when they're not playing each other. So for Squirrel White just to come up and say, I haven't even spoken to him. Now, I'm sure there have been some players that have, but who? If the offensive players aren't, the defensive backfield's completely different. And it makes me wonder a little bit, was Danico Slaughter a bad culture guy? And Caleb, I don't have anything to put out there, but just in terms of his actual play, did you think he was worthy of being run off? Because I thought he was an okay defender in a very bad secondary.
No, I mean, maybe
okay. I'm not saying good. I'm not saying good.
I'm starting to think he wasn't okay with being run off. But again, it's funny because Addison Nichols, as you said, wasn't run off, and he's throwing shots at Josh Heupel more than Danico Slaughter is. And so, I mean, this just seems like you're right. It seems somewhat like they were locker room issues, and people are willing to say good riddance to them. And they want to steal. You know what it is? And this is a funny phrase. I don't know if any of you guys watched the cartoon The Fairly Odd Parents back in the day, but Timmy Turner had a crush on this girl, and she was the popular girl. He sat next to her one day and ignored her, and she was like, "I'm ignoring you. I said I'm ignoring you. Stop ignoring me, ignoring you." And Danico Slaughter and Addison Nichols are basically trying to be like, "We're ignoring you, Tennessee. We're ignoring you, Tennessee. Stop ignoring us, ignoring you." And it's kind of like, because Tennessee's totally ignoring them. And I think they're taking it personal that that's happening.
Okay, so update on our poll question. Would you change it up? What's that on our YouTuber page?
All right, we are now at. Oh, I haven't changed it up yet.
Okay, what do you got on it now? Because I got a new one for you.
All right, right now it's Arkansas naming former Vols Danico Slaughter, Addison Nichols as captains versus Tennessee is disrespectful, all in good fun. 29% say disrespectful, 71% say all in good fun.
Okay. I guess.
I know, I'm with you. I disagree.
To me, okay. Let's not say disrespectful. Is it at the very least poking the bear?
Yeah, I think it's
poking the bear.
It's pathetic. I just think pathetic, like you said. You know what it reminds me of? Oh, this is another one reminder. Remember 1999, Dave, when Georgia visited Tennessee and Georgia players stomped on their tee at midfield before the game?
Yes.
And Tennessee just beat the brakes off them that night. And it's like Georgia had.
Well, and you know why that stands out too? Because that was very not Mark Richt-like. So this is very not Sam Pittman-like, which makes me think that he's a little bit desperate, or there are people that are calling the shots behind the scenes. Like,
no, this was pre-Mark Richt, though. It was Jim Donnan era.
Oh, well, then drunken Jim Donnan, what was he going to do?
Dave, he wore a tie every game, though.
But the point being, in both situations, actually that furthers my point. In both situations, coaches were on the hot seat, and this seems like a little nudge at the opponent that hopefully will get your fan base excited. This is like tacking on a touchdown, like Josh Heupel style.
Exactly. Just like Jeff Fisher when he was at the Rams. He was on the hot seat, and he did it. You're right. Coaches are doing this to create a splash. They kind of look like clowns. I never thought about that. It's like, you're right. If Josh Heupel does it, if Steve Spurrier does it, we're all going to laugh because we're like, that's Spurrier. He's a troll. And if Lane Kiffin does it, we're going to laugh. It's like, that's Kiffin. He's a troll. When Sam Pittman does it, you look like a loser, bro.
Yeah. Dan says it's not in good fun. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Dan there. I think it's at the very least poking the bear. Today's tough question is brought to you by our good friend Medicare Misty, licensed in over 40 states. So no matter where you're watching, Medicare Misty can help you with your Medicare needs at no cost. That's right, no cost. Today's tough question is now.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, let me go ahead and give it to you right now. Today's tough question is this: can Danico Slaughter as a spy, as Daniel Craig as James Bond, can he help Arkansas defend Tennessee's offense, particularly the passing game? Caleb, you start.
I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is this offense is totally different from the offense they ran last year. And honestly, in some ways, it's different from what they ran in 2022. So I don't think Danico Slaughter really has any real experience going up against this, what Tennessee is running right now. Furthermore, and I'll say this, I don't think Tennessee's offense is that complicated where you can't like figure out what they're doing. That's not what makes it hard. It's just that it's really hard to defend. It's not. I mean, you kind of know what they're running. We know what Josh Heupel does. It's really hard to defend if you have the personnel to run it.
I think that he can help in player tendencies, and he knows strengths and weaknesses. I think that helps him, and he can help coach up his guys if he's a good culture guy, which we just questioned out of left field. He can help his guys, but no, I find it hard to believe that Danico Slaughter is going to be able to look at a game film and see anything more than Arkansas's defensive coaches who are getting paid 6 digits plus. I mean, if that's the case, then they even more so need a clean house. I mean, if you have to go, hey, what should we do here, defensive coordinator? Hell, I don't know. Somebody get Danico Slaughter on the phone.
Dave, I'm not going to let you disrespect these coaches. They work very hard and they're very intelligent people. And you have never heard me say a negative word about football coaches, okay?
That's true. That's true. And wherever you post, either on our stuff, which we appreciate, and I love the comments on YouTube. I try to get back to as many as I can. But apparently GBDH has turned into a thing, which is Go Big Dave Hooker, which calls me big, which I'm not really as much anymore. Would you call me big, Caleb? Because I lost a lot of weight before I met you. Am I still a big guy?
Maybe they mean big somewhere else.
Now, am I still a big? That's a given. But am I still am I a big guy? I mean, I don't like to. I just.
You are. I mean, it's just I don't know how many people have seen Hooker. And,
okay. So, yeah, if you want to go post on other people's socials and our socials, GBDH, that's apparently taking off. And
maybe because the show's getting big.
Yeah. I think it's because for some reason people put me on TV and radio here in Knoxville, and there's a lot of Dave out there, which I'm not advocating. But while I say that, please hit like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. Hit like it. Now we got GLDH. I guess that's Go Lean Dave Hooker. Yeah,
no, I think that's Go Little Dave Hooker.
Go Little Dave Hooker. Okay, Jack, I know, buddy. It's out of respect, man, and it means a lot. It took me a while to get it, but it's pretty awesome. So thank you. Back to Danico Slaughter. So we don't think that he's going to be calling plays for Arkansas's defense. So can Addison Nichols help at all?
What?
Not on his. No, I'm going to go ahead and steal this from you. Not on his backside, because that's where he's going to be for most of the game on Saturday. I mean, Addison Nichols. I will just go ahead and tell you, he is dreading Saturday because he knows how good these defensive linemen were last year, and he's seen them improve to this year. Danico Slaughter may be excited for the challenge, especially since Tennessee has a propensity now to be more defensive-minded and a little bit more ball control with the 12 personnel, which means 2 tight ends. But I guarantee you, if you could look into his heart of hearts, Addison Nichols is dreading Saturday and scared to death he's going to get embarrassed.
All right, so here's the one thing I will say on the other side, believe it or not, is let me ask you this, Dave. Tim Banks does run a lot of stunts and twists. And is there any rhyme or pattern or tendency to those?
No, but you know what that means.
What?
Is Tim Banks is a lot smarter than Addison Nichols. And while Tennessee hasn't run a lot of, if you notice, they've just won battles one-on-one. I talked to Cooper Mays about that on the Vol Report, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air. Integrity matters, 50 years in East Tennessee. But I was talking to him about that, and they're winning more one-on-one battles. So they're not doing that as often. But this might be the game where some Addison Nichols tendencies, and you can confuse him. That, to me, is a real possibility. And if you see sacks up the middle, just take a second, watch the replay, and see if it's a looping end or if he just got beat up front. Because both are going to happen on multiple occasions on Saturday.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think both will. I think that – so let's ask this. Who could provide more insight who would be more useful? Addison Nichols knowing Tennessee's defensive line or Danico Slaughter knowing Tennessee's receivers?
I think both are minimal, but I'll say that Danico Slaughter could have more of an impact on the game from an X's and O's scheme standpoint. I know you're Squirrel, you do this well. I don't see, as a matter of fact, I think it's more the other side with Nichols. I think he should just be scared. And I'm going to go ahead and tag him on this tweet right now. Should VFL Addison Nichols.
But you're going to VFL him?
I am going to VFL him because I think it's a little bit tongue in cheek.
Put it in quotes because otherwise you're going to confuse people.
Okay. All right. Put it in quotes, but whatever. Let's reset that to the poll question. Who should be more concerned about the Tennessee matchup? Is it Danico Slaughter or Addison Nichols?
Who should be more scared about facing Tennessee?
Exactly. That's what I meant. So you made it better. So which would you say?
You make a great point with Addison Nichols. You do. I mean, I really can't dispute what you're saying there, but I'm going to go to Danico Slaughter only because I've told you this. I feel like Arkansas is the game where they air out Nico a lot. Not Nico. And also, Dave, I thought about this recently, and it's more prudent than I really gave credit to. But I've kind of looked at a lot of online blogs and online video footage and breakdowns, and one of the reasons they didn't air it out that much against Oklahoma is because the Oklahoma field was so bad. And
there's a lot of truth to that. Now, people said were they worried about injuries? I don't think that was the case. I just think it was a sloppy field, a sloppy game. And really that shows you Oklahoma's dedication or lack thereof to football. Because what happened after, I'm going to go way back, the Jackson 5 Victory Tour in 1985. What happened? Well, they tore the hell out of the field. Okay, so how long was it before they had another concert? I guess it was Kenny Chesney for like 20 years.
Yep.
What happened when Butch Jones showed up? He goes, you know what we need to do? We need to resod the field every spring so it looks good for recruiting. You're an idiot. The field fell apart in the fall. It was an embarrassment. So that field, we haven't even talked about that. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Oklahoma, but that field told me right there, they're not SEC ready because you're not going to see that type of chunky, awful field at Alabama, at Georgia, and you're not going to see it at Tennessee unless $7 haircut is in charge, and he's not.
Well, what if Oklahoma messed up that field wants the field to be this way on purpose because they're so defensive oriented, they want to slow down offenses?
Well, I thought about that too, but I don't.
Because
but typically you just let the grass grow a little bit longer. I'll give you for instance, my high school played an inner city school, and they were incredibly athletic. And my high school was in basketball was a ball control type of team, and they would turn the heat up by 6 degrees in the gym. I mean, it was noticeably hotter for those in the Knoxville area when Powell played Austin Easton basketball. But I think you just grow the grass. I don't think you sacrifice the field for the rest of the year because that field's never going to be right for the remainder of the year.
Well, it's not just about Tennessee though. It's about everybody Oklahoma plays because they knew they were more built defensively, so they want to slow everybody down they play. I'm just saying, I don't think Arkansas is going to do that, and I think because of that, Tennessee is going to be able to light it up a lot more against Arkansas than they did against Oklahoma because you know who's not smart enough to think ahead like that the way we're talking about, Dave? Sam Pittman.
Sam Pittman is a saint and a great man. I don't understand why you dislike Sam Pittman so much. He is a fantastic American. What the H brought to you by Medicare. Misty will reset that poll question 30 seconds.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
All right, reset that poll question. Who should be more concerned, Addison Nichols or Danico Slaughter, about getting lambasted by the Vols?
Oh, I've already got it. And
Well, that early voting doesn't count. What is this, the presidential election? All right, so you can go ahead and we've now declared that Al Gore will be the next president of the United States. Oops. All right, so go ahead and click on that QR code because you can actually get it done like right now. We're going to give away that pick six. So the pick six is 6 glossy photos that are autographed by the current Tennessee defensive backs. So that's a pretty awesome gift that we're giving away later today. So go ahead, click on the QR code. It's just $9.98. Increased recruiting coverage there, and also more interaction with me and Caleb Calhoun. It's brought to you by Sports Treasures. Over 5 million Sports Treasures in North Knoxville. They are phenomenal. Follow them on Facebook, Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN. Now, you can be a free member of Hooker's Corner, and as long as you're subscribed to this station, take part in Rick Terry's Great 8 Garmin Challenge. The Great 8 Garmin Challenge means when we hit 8,000 subscribers, which will be just, I think, a month and a half based off current projections, then we're giving away a Garmin worth over $1,000. So want to be sure and thank Rick Terry. Ask about the Fire Opals, affordable game day jewelry, personalized custom jewelry that is all about you and your loved ones. Update us on the poll question, Caleb Calhoun.
all right, so maybe it's not as early as before, but who should be more scared of facing Tennessee? 59% say Danico Slaughter and 41% say Addison Nichols. So more people are on my side than yours.
I think they want to embarrass Addison Nichols.
Addison Nichols has taken more shots this week. I mean, Danico Slaughter has been
I'm not
quiet.
even saying because of that. Addison Nichols was a key component for this Tennessee football team to step in and be a guard. And he wasn't ready, so they had to go the Keurig route. And then he was supposed to be a backup center, and he wasn't ready, so they had to go the Ollie Lane route, and we'll have him later on in the program. And I got a lot of respect for Ollie Lane, but Nichols was the 4-star guy. I think, Caleb, tell me if this is too far, but I think Josh Heupel and this entire staff would like to show up Addison Nichols because he was an important part of this building program. And not that he left for more playing time, but just that he didn't develop, that it took that sort of wake-up call to like you're still second, maybe third string as of last year. I think they want to show him up.
Dave, but you're forgetting this. Because someone's calling me out on the message board and I have to say it. I stand corrected. Sam Pittman is a genius and he's an offensive line coach, and his genius and his intellect will be imparted into Addison Nichols and make Addison Nichols a very effective player no matter what Tennessee tries to do.
Yeah. Go ahead convince yourself of that. Keep going on that. But really, I mean, seriously, we're having a way different conversation if Addison Nichols develops, right? Because you and I were discussing, and Josh Mancuso, who is really good. I don't know. He does all the impressions and the stuff. He's really funny. He commented on a Twitter post that you put out and said, Caleb's onto something with Tennessee's offensive line and lack of development there. But I think Caleb's onto something, but my retort was, look at guys like Larry Johnson III, who I think is developing quite well. Look at Darnell Wright. Look at Cooper Mays, who have developed quite well. And then it gets a little harder for me to make an argument after that. But if I could make an argument that Addison Nichols will be ready to start next year, then it's a better topic of debate. But Caleb, it's not, because he didn't. And if I'm a recruiter and a head coach that lined up some NIL money for him, which I'm sure they did, I'm feeling a little bit bleeped over.
I mean, I totally agree. And as a matter of fact, Addison Nichols was kind of the first big time recruit that Tennessee added in Josh Heupel's first big time signee that we all thought could turn into something. And so it was shocking how that all played out. So I can see what you're saying, that they're taking things a little personal. I think now Josh Heupel's just taking what Sam Pittman did personal. Really? You're going to name my 2 former transfers captains against me? Okay. Let's let me, it's time for me to show you up. I think Josh Heupel's taking what Sam Pittman did more personal than anything. And so I think Josh Heupel is ready to humiliate him. And also because he had to be reserved and not humiliate Oklahoma because of the poor field and the injuries at tackle. I think he really wants to unleash his anger this week.
All right. What if we both said when it comes to James Pierce about his lack of sacks?
That he is affecting the game in other ways.
Okay. Well, Pro Football Focus doesn't exactly see it like that. So we're going to share their findings and talk about James Pierce here in a moment. And I think there is reason to be a little bit concerned. Not that Pro Football Focus is the Bible of college football, but it's pretty darn good. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. It's Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com, Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. Hooked for 10% off. Hang tight, and then we're going to share some numbers with you that are not great, frankly, when it comes to James Pierce. So we're going to take a really objective look at what he's done, and we're not just going to lean on the fact that, yes, he's got some pressures. Has he underachieved this year? We'll answer the tough questions that most people won't. Off the Hook Sports. 2 minutes with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Do me a favor. Click that like button. Click subscribe. If you want to super chat, it will go to Caleb Calhoun's 3-month-old son, Quincy Calhoun, and his father has agreed not to gamble it away. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Play to win, BanksJones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, so I want you guys to do me a favor who are talking about the commercials in the chat. I want you to do this for me. You reach out to any of our sponsors, do business with any of our sponsors, and all the ones on the website. I don't farm that out. We had a company come to us and like, oh, we can run all your ads and take up your inventory and make you lots of money. And we thought about it, and we actually tested it like in the middle of the night, and there were pop-up ads galore. And so we got away from that. Plus, I couldn't vouch for those people. and we want to vouch for everybody. So if you guys tell me, hey, I reached out to Neubert Collision Center, Medicare Misty, Banks and Jones. I'm going to leave somebody off. The Hemp House. I know you're at the Hemp House. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off. I know that. Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. HDKnoxville.com. All online. Hound Dogs of Knoxville. If you tell me next week at any point that you've reached out to one of our sponsors to not only support them, but support what we do, I'm going to hook some people up with shirts next week. So we got a brand new batch of shirts in. Caleb, you're going to look snazzy when I get them to you, if I ever have the time to pick them up. But we've got more pressing issues now, Caleb Calhoun. So set the poll question, if you don't mind. Lance says gummies at Hemp House, yum. All right, Lance, you can email me. You're going to get taken care of with a T-shirt. So let me ask you this, Caleb. What have we said? Well, first set the poll question. And that is, I want the poll question to be that Sports Treasures, by the way, over 5 million Sports Treasures. I know you guys have supported them. I've heard about it. So it really does mean a lot. All right. So I've defended James Pierce because I think that I know football pretty well. I think that I know that James Pierce is a versatile athlete and that James Pierce is a guy that has continued to pressure the quarterback to some extent. And we can look at stats, but really, when I say pressuring the quarterback, I mean the offense has to be aware of you. Okay, so it's not just, hey, he got there, he almost got a sack. So let's set the poll question as this. Has James Pierce been underwhelming this season? Yes, I'm disappointed he didn't have a sack, hasn't had a sack. No, he's still affecting the game. So that's been my stance. And while Caleb puts that up, I want to bring up some Pro Football Focus numbers. Now, the biggest number that you need to be aware of, there are two, is that James Pierce was projected in the offseason as the number one player in the NFL draft. Okay. Now, that was just, 4 months ago? Now he's projected as the number 15 player in the NFL draft. Now, I'm not questioning Pro Football Focus. However, you and I both know, Caleb, that chances are a quarterback's going to go number one. We said that at the time. Sure, there have been times where an edge rusher is that elite and he goes number one, and Pierce may be that guy, but I think he's a little light. Nevertheless, I think they were playing a little bit of games, Caleb. I think that was to get some attention from some Tennessee fans. And I believe that now they're going to start putting the quarterbacks up higher on the list. However, their grades for James Pierce have not been good. Let's pull that up. Yes, Tony, I do know football. All right, so let's pull that up. Caleb, as here are the numbers. All right, so for those of us that are over the age of 40, and you can see those, and you can't see those numbers, Caleb, help us. What was James Pierce's? Well, I can see it. James Pierce's grades in 2023 were what, Caleb?
So his overall defensive grades were 90.4. His run defense efficiency was 67.7. His tackling was 60.3. And his pass rush was 91.9. And his coverage was 88.
Okay, so this is where the tread meets the tires, brought to you by Quality Tire Pros. The Eberle family has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957, all major brands of tires, or where the tires hit the road, I think I should have said. Full service automotive, brakes, alignments, oil changes, and more. All work is covered by nationwide warranty. QualityTirePros.com. QualityTirePros.com. All right, what are they this year?
All right, so this year grades. Overall, 69.4. Run defense efficiency, 71.6, which is higher. Tackling 27.4, which is a giant drop-off. Pass rush 67.7, a giant drop-off, and coverage 62.3.
So, pass rush in particular, Caleb, that puts him pretty average or starter. this year compared to last year, right?
Yes.
Okay. What other grades stand out to you? The tackling to me is a little odd. I don't understand how you would forget how to tackle, but that's way down according to Pro Football Focus. What else stands out to you about those numbers?
What stands out to me about these numbers is the one that obviously is the biggest standout is the pass rush drop off more than anything else, because it's 91.9 last year to 67.7 this year. But I'll let you finish your take, because Dave, I'm not going to unleash on Pro Football Focus, but I am going to say why you're wrong in a second.
Okay, I'm up for that. So it's right at 50-50. He's underwhelmed. He hasn't had a sack. And then, no, he's still affecting the game. So, Caleb, give me your take on Pro Football Focus.
Okay, I'm going to pull this down. Well, no, should I pull this down or leave it up? What do you want me to do?
Go ahead and pull it down.
Okay. And I like Pro Football Focus, but here's the problem with talking ball going beyond anything else. And you know this, Dave, is all analytical measures in football have to be taken with a grain of salt. They're very hard to quantify, more than any other sport.
Okay.
One of the things Pro Football Focus does, and I understand why they do this for edge rushers, one of the things they grade is they don't just give you points for a sack or a hurry or a knockdown or a hit or anything like that. They also grade you based on how quickly you did it. If teams consistently run the opposite way or go the opposite way of where the edge rusher is, an edge rusher like James Pierce, Dave, this year is going to take longer to generate a hurry or to generate pressure or to get a hit or to even get a sack, which he hasn't had yet, than he would have last year, because of the fact that they are running away from him so much. Now, the pass rush grade, I want to pull this back up real quick, because I want you to notice something here. And this is where the flaw comes in with this. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Now, you see that pass rush grade is 67.7, a drop off from 91.9, right?
Yes.
James Pierce has a total of 13 pressures this year versus 52 last year. That's actually a higher percentage of the 107 plays he's played than the 52 was of the 462 last year. Not only that, his hurries, he's been on the field, Dave, for 107 plays. He has 11 hurries. That's more than one every 9 plays he gets a hurry. It was one roughly every 16 or 17 plays he got a hurry last year at 28. So his hurry to play ratio, he's having more hurries per play this year than he was last year. He's having more pressures per play than he was last year, but because he's not doing them as quickly, it's dropping his overall pass rush grade.
Wait. What do you mean as quickly?
This is Pro Football Focus's flaw. They actually give you, and they don't, this is the thing, they don't actually fully detail their grades, but they've admitted they do this. If you get a hurry within 1 second, if you bring pressure within 1 second, like if you win your battle within 1 second, you get a higher grade on a play than you do if you win your battle within 3 or 4 seconds.
So you mean literally quickness. I thought you meant quickness in terms of beginning of the season.
No, I mean quickness in terms of how quickly on a play do you generate the hurry. James Pierce cannot generate the hurry quickly the way other teams can. One, because he's getting double teamed a lot. I think you would agree with that, right? They brought in extra tight ends.
Yes.
And quarterbacks plays are being designed the opposite way of James Pierce. So when you really break it down, I would argue that Pierce is doing as well. It's just scheme has changed things a lot. And I want to point this out because the numbers are in, and James Pearson has 107 plays. You want to know how many yards per play teams are averaging when James Pierce is in the game, Dave? This year?
I don't know.
2.5. Now, Tennessee's defense, to be fair, is giving up 3.1 yards per play in general, which is great. But it goes all the way down to 2.5 when James Pierce is in the game. So their defense significantly improves when James Pierce is out there. His hurries and his pressure ratio are higher. The flaw in this grading, and by the way, the tackling, he's not going to get a lot of points for tackles because he hasn't been able to wrap up a guy. As a matter of fact, there have been moments, ones that count against him, where there was a play, I think, against NC State where he brought the pressure. Omar Norman Locke got the sack. That's going to count against his tackling grade, which I think is a flaw by PFF. So, again, I don't think this is as big of a deal. I think this shows a flaw in the PFF system. Not to say that's a bad system, but there's things they can't quantify, and this is one of them.
Okay, Derek brings up these kids have access to this money. It's going to affect them. I've been told that James Pierce gets $1 million, and I know that from a really good source. So you can pretty much take that to the bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. So it's $1 million, and he's not a guy that wants to go out and do a lot of events. So he probably could make more if he wanted to, but he's not a guy that likes to be in social settings. If you're James Pierce's family, are you concerned because he hasn't gotten the sacks? He has had a really rough background. I don't want to get into it, but it's worse than you think. And if you're that family who he's going to be the meal ticket for, right? Are you concerned that maybe he's lost his way a little bit? I mean, once you have $1 million in the bank, it's a lot easier, and he gets $100,000 per month, so he doesn't have that in the bank yet. But once you do that, once you have financial freedom, there is a likelihood that you're going to let up a little bit. And this, I'm sure, is happening with many dozens of players who suddenly think they've struck it rich, when in reality, it's just a small fraction of what they can make in the NFL. But do you think that could contribute to this at all? Or am I reaching?
I think if it contributes to it, it's because of the lack of research that analysts are doing that draft analysts are doing and the things he's hearing. And I hope he's not, because James Pierce should not feel bad about the way he's played it all this year to this point. He's done everything right. And I will say, I spoke a little bit out of turn. He has actually, based on some BFF grades, missed on some tackles. But one of the reasons I think there's twofold for that. I think because he's getting fewer opportunities, Dave, I think he's over pursuing when he gets a chance. Is that fair to say?
Well, that's the other side of it. I was getting ready to ask you, do you worry that he starts pressing?
Yes, I think he's already been pressing some. But the other point, and someone brought this up, some of these missed tackles came at the end of the Oklahoma game. James Pierce played 54 snaps against Oklahoma. That's more than half the snaps he played all year. He was noticeably tired in the fourth quarter of that game because he was playing 54 snaps and having to draw a lot of double teams. And I think the amount of work that was done on him with the amount of snaps he played, he's the one defensive lineman that I actually think was tired in the fourth quarter in that game.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's going to get old to him at some point. I mean, as a pass rusher, just almost getting there is going to get old. And I wonder how long he can keep it up mentally, because let's face it, you could, if you wanted to absolutely take Reggie White out of the game, you could. I mean, you could line up a tight end on him every single time, but it's going to create weaknesses elsewhere in your offense. The only guy that I don't think that you could defend no matter what you did that I've ever seen play would be Lawrence Taylor. But he was allowed, I don't know if you know this, but the Giants played 10 against 11, and Lawrence Taylor got to line up wherever he wanted to on the field. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that, but that doesn't actually shock me at all.
I mean, he was the first, like, he could put his hand down, he could stand up, he could go play safety if he wanted to. Literally 10 people were supposed to account for 11, and he would just make something happen. So other than him, every pass rusher is going to get frustrated by not getting a sack. And I think that's a concern.
So if you want to say there's a concern that you don't think James Pierce can maintain his mental, I don't want to say mental acuity, but like kind of just mental toughness when he knows that he's not getting the stats he wants to get, I may agree with you. Here's why I think he'll be okay. I think that eventually teams are going to have to respect the other side.
I agree. I think they're going to have to account for Dominique Bailey. I think they're going to have to account for Tyree West, and things are going to flip. Hey, listen, because of his background, I'm not supposed to root. I'm supposed to be objective, I think, is what we do that's different from most other people. But I'm rooting for James Pierce based off his background and the things I can't really share with you. So I'm putting these hypotheticals out there because they're real talking points. But in my heart of hearts, man, I want to see him get 20 sacks and be number one in the NFL and be beloved and put all the hauntings of his past behind. Peak IV hydration can put the hauntings of the night before behind you because they can rehydrate you. Over 100 5-star reviews. Now you can go in their office, which I'd highly encourage you to do, South Knoxville and Sevierville, peakivhydration.com, or you can just order the patch. So the patch comes to you. They've got one that gives you more energy throughout the day, which I like a lot. And they've got one with the vitamins and the minerals that you've been out too long the night before. Then you can feel better. Who needs a hangover? Huh? Peak IV Hydration. Order it online. Peak IV Hydration. This day in Tennessee sports history, Caleb, is
27 years ago today. A running back by the name of Jamal Lewis emerged onto the scene as Tennessee beat Ole Miss 31-17. The week before, the Vols had suffered a 5th straight disappointing loss to Florida, and many people were ready to quit on the season because it's like, oh my gosh, losing to Florida again, no more championship again. And Peyton Manning called a team meeting before the Ole Miss game and said, guys, you only get a certain amount of time to play college football, and you should appreciate it no matter what. Tennessee came out, beat Ole Miss. They found Jamal Lewis, who went off, and that set the stage for the Manning-Lewis backfield that took over college football the rest of the year, pretty much.
Yep. There you go. That was a pretty good backfield. One of only, 7 guys to rush for 2,000 yards in a season, and one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So, yeah, that worked out.
Worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Tony says, y'all don't think teams schemed against Derek Barnett or Reggie White? It didn't stop them. Yeah, well, I don't exactly agree with that. I think that they did scheme against them. It didn't stop Derek Barnett. As for Reggie White in college, he was only stopped by himself, and that's because he didn't work as hard his junior year. And then his senior year, he worked incredibly hard, and nobody stopped him.
Well, and also, you bring up Reggie White, but nobody was going to scheme against Reggie White because he didn't make enough of an impact before his senior year, like you said. So, I mean,
Exactly.
So, and also Reggie White played in the middle. And also you're talking about one of the biggest freaks of nature in the history of football in Reggie White. Okay. We're like, now Derek Barnett, I did cover that Derek Barnett season in 20
something good. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You broke up a little bit. Go ahead. You're talking about Derek Barnett.
Yeah. In 2016, no, they couldn't scheme against him the same way because they knew about Corey Vereen on the other side. They didn't know about Tyree West and Dominic Bailey this year. Tennessee, because the reason they are scheming against Pierce is because Tyler Barron is gone, and they didn't know what they were getting with Dominic Bailey and Tyree West. So they're having to learn that. Other teams are. They knew what they were getting in Corey Vereen, so they already knew he was a threat. So no, it's not the same with James Pierce.
Be interesting to see if this is the week that it flips in Pierce's favor now that there's been a month of tape out there. And let's be honest, who really looked at the Chattanooga or Kent State tape and thought they were getting much from that? The one, the only VFL, Ollie Lane, joins us now. We'll talk some trenches. Maybe that's what we call it. Talking trenches with Ollie. 2 minutes off the hook sports. Stick with us. I see Ollie down there, so we're going to talk some ball up next. Hang tight.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford in Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2018 Ford Mustang convertible, 24,550, 2023 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, 29,789, 2022 Ford Escape SEL all-wheel drive, 26,975. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, Caleb, give us an update on the poll question, or maybe we'll reset that. What do you got?
All right. So, has James Pierce been underwhelming this season? Yes. Disappointed he has no sacks, 37%. No, he's still affecting the game, 63%.
All right. Let's bring in VFL Ollie Lane to discuss that. But really, I want to get more into the community and fan expectations that seem a little off kilter to me. But let's go ahead and dive into that. Ollie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
I'm fantastic, young man. What do you make of James Pierce not having a sack yet?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people kind of talk about it throughout this season going on. I think a lot of people don't realize that, yes, they have schemed, other teams have schemed for James Pierce, and realize that that's where the attention needs to be when they're trying to block up our defensive line. Because, like I caught Caleb saying at the end there, they didn't really know who Don Bailey was before the season. Last year, it was all about Tyler Barron, which gave James a lot of opportunities to kind of show out and show what he could do without that less attention being drawn to him. But now, I mean, you're coming into the season, you're the projected #1 draft pick, you're the best defensive lineman in the college football. So, of course, every team's like, all right, this is the highlight guy. We're going to put all of our focus on this guy. And I think it's made some issues for James and trying to be – because, I mean, when you're out there trying to make sacks and stuff, but you're consistently having to go against double teams every single time, well, I mean, your percentages of actually winning that double team every single time isn't going to happen. But, you know, at the back end of it, he still is effectively making a difference in these games because with them drawing the attention to James, it frees up plays for Don Bailey on the other side and all the other D tackles and stuff because they're trying to put so much protection on him to keep him from the quarterback that they lose the focus on the other parts of the defensive line that are just as talented.
Good stuff. Ollie, let me ask you real quick. What's your Twitter handle again?
Ollie_Lane78.
Oh, you had to put that underscore in. Yeah. Somebody already had that. It's awful. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Caleb.
Ollie, just another question on this real quick. You see it obviously from the other side as a blocker, but it's one thing for a defensive tackle, but I know edge rushers, a guy like James Pierce, they want to get those sacks. They want to eat every evening. How hard is it for a guy like James Pierce to just maintain the level head, to know that these sacks are going to come if he stays about his business when he's having to constantly deal with these double teams? And
I mean, it's just something that he's got to build up that mental strength to just like, look, I'm making a difference. He's got to understand that in the concept of the role that he plays within the team, that he is contributing and making a difference, even though the stats aren't jumping for him. he's still a very valued piece of that defense. And I think he knows that. And that helps going through stretches of that where you're thinking, I got to have these stats, I got to get this and that. But at the end of the day, is your team winning? Are you making the team better? And that's all that really matters in the long run. It's going to be hard and a little frustrating at times because you want to put on and put out there what you can. But at the same time, if you're thinking about it as a team first mindset, then you know that you're still on the right track for things.
Okay, before we get to the topic that I really want to dig into, because you've been a player and now you're in the community and you hear reaction. You do John Pennington's Sports Horse show on Saturday, the pregame show. I'm sure you've been on the postgame show as well on Sundays. So I want to get to your thoughts on the response from the Oklahoma game, which wasn't 100% positive, which is very odd to me. So I want to get into that. But first, do you think Tennessee's players are aware and or affected by the fact that Danico Slaughter and Addison Nichols were named captains today by Arkansas's football team?
No, I saw that. And I think that's more of just like a piece of the puzzle in the storyline for the game for Arkansas to play into. I know Danico Slaughter's been playing really great for them over there. And, he is probably going to be one of those captain type guys for that team. But, we do take attention to that. And I'm like, oh, hey, those are our guys. We know them very well. We're friends with them still. But now we get to compete against them instead of with them, which is going to be interesting. But, it might add a little bit more, salt into the wound, get them a little more jazzed up to play this game. You never know.
What happened with Addison Nichols? I'm not asking you to air dirty laundry, but just kind of your thoughts on why he didn't end up being a contributing ball.
Yeah, me and Addison have a really great relationship. I tried to take him under my wing when he was here and kind of, teach him along. I think part of the reason that it just didn't work out here is there was some disconnect between the coaching style that he thrives under best. And every athlete's different. They're going to respond different to different coaching techniques and styles. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. And it's not that one side did something wrong or did something that they shouldn't have. It's just that it was a non-fit. And so I think he's found a good fit over at Arkansas. And it's a struggle for an offensive lineman to come in when you've got, when he came in, there was two junior seniors at guard. You had two junior seniors at center. Your tackles were pretty much stacked up. So, he came in at a time where the need for him was going to be future on in his career. And I think he was looking more of that, I want to play now kind of aspect of things. And he just wasn't getting what he needed out of it where he was at in his career.
Ollie, you said you tried to take him under your wing. At what point did you think that, man, he might look elsewhere, or were you totally taken aback when he transferred?
Obviously it's conversations that we had personally going through last year because I knew where his head was at. And, I'd try to motivate him, keep him all involved. But, there's only so much that you can do from a mentor standpoint to really not overstep your bounds in a way and let him kind of go through his own personal journey himself. I tried to give him the tools and advice that I could throughout the way. But the fact of the matter is he's going to make his own decision because he's a grown man and you can only help advise him to make the right decision for him.
Let's change gears. So I feel like, and this is still resonating. I firmly believe that the Oklahoma game was one of Josh Heupel's best coached games as a ball. I believe that wholeheartedly. I would argue that until my dying day, which, as old as I am, could be any day. But Ollie, it just doesn't seem like the community has been okay with, air quotes, winning ugly. I thought it was winning beautiful. But have you heard that in the community? What's kind of your reaction to that?
Yeah, look, the fact is fan expectations are always going to be all over the place for any Tennessee team. Even from my time at Tennessee, it went from we're expecting this, and then we don't get it. It's a disappointment. Look, the fact is they went out and they played a complete football game against Oklahoma, and they were smart about it. Josh Heupel made big coaching decisions to not only save his players for the rest of the season, but also make sure that he still puts us in a position to win without overextending ourselves to get us into a position of risk of not knowing if we're going to win the game. He knew the outcome of that game as he was coaching it the entire time, and knew that, look, I'm in a position right now. I've got 2 of my tackles out. I've got a young quarterback that I don't really want to get beat up his first SEC game on the road. Let me rely on this defense that has been my big support source throughout this entire season, and the big rider for what this season is going to be. And I think he did that. And I think fans should take away from that is like, wow, we actually have a defense that can go out and win us games. That's huge. That's something that we haven't had in a long time. And look, I get it. You want to throw up big points. You want to blow teams out. But look at what you did from a physical aspect. You physically outmatched Oklahoma and destroyed their motivations to wanting to win that game. I mean, they came out of that second half with the new quarterback. They got some stuff going, but I mean, you could tell they were ready to get off that field. They were ready to be done with that game. And I think that's what fans need to look at is like, they were physically exhausted by the end of that game because of what our team was able to do to them.
I was Caleb, I want to turn to you, but I was visiting with Mr. Jeff Neubert of Neubert Collision Center actually this morning, and I said, what would you have said 4 years ago if I would have told you that Tennessee was going to be on the road at Oklahoma, have 2 strip sack fumbles, and win the game by double digits?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just wouldn't have happened.
No, it doesn't happen. No, that stuff like that doesn't happen. You go anywhere on SEC on the road, you have 1 turnover. You're looking at, I don't know if you're going to win that game, but to have 2 and to still for that entire game be squarely in control of what the outcome was going to be is huge.
So, Ollie, I wanted to dive in a little bit about, flesh this out a little more, not just about the winning ugly, but fan expectations in general, because you're a young guy. You're younger than Dave and I. Dave and I both remember there was a time period in the 90s and the 2000s where Tennessee just circled wins and took them for granted. And you were on the 2022 team. That was really the first taste of what it was once like for Tennessee fans in the 90s and 2000s. And it didn't feel like, and I can just tell you from the perspective of covering that team, the fans, they didn't take any win for granted. They were thrilled with the Akron win. They were thrilled with the Florida win, and they were thrilled with the LSU win before the Alabama game. Do you get the vibe that there's a little more, unfortunately, taking some of these wins for granted this time around 2 years later because they've been there?
I would say to a point, a little bit fan expectation starts to rise, especially with what Heupel's been able to put out as a product. I mean, you go back to 2019, we win the Tax Slayer Bowl. Everybody's got these expectations for us for 2020, and we absolutely ruined them. And I mean, that's the bad thing that happens with fan expectations. You get so built up on the offseason, what you think, but expectations are expectations. You don't know what's going to happen. And I mean, fans just let their expectations control what they deem this team should do. Look, the fact is, every win is a blessing because you never know. Any Saturday, you could lose a game against any opponent in college football. I mean, that's just how it is. It's how every sport is set up. I mean, everyone's got a fair chance to win a game. But I mean, I think to a point, there's wins that you expect, and there's games that you still don't take for granted, those big wins. But at the same time, you've got to be able to just rejoice that we're not back in the dark ages that we were in between 2010 and 2020. I mean, those years are starting to edge out, but make sure that you're still thankful for where we're at now, because I mean, yes, there's still a lot of places for us to grow, but enjoy what we got because we know how quickly it can turn bad for everybody.
Yeah. So you guys, this team, it just feels like, and I don't want to say the team because I don't want to talk about what Heupel's doing with the team, but I hear a lot of fans already talking about Alabama in 3 weeks. And with you guys in 2022, there's no way y'all would have done that, right? Y'all would have been like, oh my gosh, we have a chance to get 5-0. We have a chance to get 6-0 because it hadn't been done in so long in Tennessee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that whole 2022 season, I mean, it was like every week, like, oh, we're undefeated still. We're undefeated still. We got another one. We got another one. I mean, it was just pushing through the season. Like every single game was just so big because it was another chance to push that record out a little bit more. When you look at it now, it's just like, yes, we want to win. We expect to win. And I mean, that's something when you look at this team in general, I mean, that's something that they're told every day, even in the offseason. It's like you got 3 different teams. You got teams that are built on hope and their hopes get crushed. They're never going to accomplish anything. You got teams that are built on expectations. They're not going to meet up to the expectations. Or you got teams that a team that expects to win every single time they step on the field. And that's the mindset that Tennessee and this team has, is every time they step on the field, they expect to win. And that's something that when you're not winning, you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that you are winning. And your weekly prep, if you're a team that expects to win, your weekly prep is right to get you in a position to win that game.
Okay, so you've been around for the dark ages. At what point in your expectations, we're talking about fan expectations, but at what point did you feel like Tennessee's football team expected, that you're a part of, expected to win each and every week, not hoped?
I mean, if I look back, break it up into two sections of what was my career with Pruitt and Heupel. When we played with Pruitt, there was no game that we went in with an expectation of winning that game. It's sad to talk about it now, but I mean, just a lot of people on that team, it was just, how much are we going to get beat by this week? How much, what's it going to be? It was not a good atmosphere to be around. But, once Heupel came in, right about that mid-21 year, when we started seeing what this offense, maybe after the Missouri game, after we saw like what this offense can really do, it was like, all right, well, we expect a boat race, put a bunch of points on everybody. And now we get to 22, that started working. We started putting points out, blowing people out, going into shootouts. And so 2022 was probably the year that I just strictly, every game that we went into as a team, we expected to win. About halfway through the season, that confidence was just skyrocketed through the roof. And then last year, going into every single game, we thought we expected to win every single game. Obviously, it didn't work out for us how we intended it to. But I mean, even after we had lost games in that season, that mindset still stuck, that we expected to win. Just sometimes the game and the breaks just went against us, and it is what it is now. But I mean, you can see it in the mindset of the team this year. It's only now 4 years into Heupel's not only philosophy as a coach, but his mentality philosophy has really bought in by these players of, hey, we are a good team because we value ourselves as a good team, and we expect to come out and win against any opponent that you put out against us.
Are fan expectations too high is our poll question. Yes, just win. No, win with style. Pardon the typo. 10% of the people say win with style. Ollie, what would you say to those that say you can't just win, you got to win with style?
I'd say just be happy with the win. A win's a win. I mean, when you look at it, you can win with style. It's cool, but some of those games got to be some dirty, ugly, nobody wants to watch it games, because that's the SEC football. SEC football is not clean, beautiful. Look at these dazzling plays. No, it's hard grit. We're going to out physical somebody else.
So, Ollie, let's talk about how Josh Heupel approaches the team, because obviously you're talking about how just the way it felt for you guys is we gave Josh Heupel a lot of credit in 2022 for keeping you guys level-headed, but it sounds like you guys yourselves were just taking it one game at a time. How much faith do you have in Josh Heupel to make sure his players don't get infected by a fan base that's starting to take wins for granted too much?
Yeah, I mean, Heupel does a good job of paying attention to that. He's like, everybody's going to talk about us. It's either going to be good or bad, but you ignore the good, you ignore the bad, you just focus on what you can control. And I think that's a big point of everything, is you only focus on what you can control. Don't listen to the outside noise. Everybody talks about it. Don't listen to the outside noise. I caught myself listening to the outside noise from time to time last year, just because it's so easy to, especially when people are mentioning your name and stuff like that, you want to know what people are saying. But at the end of the day, Heupel does a good job. He's brought in Coach Bird that does a bunch of mentality training and stuff like that to get these guys to not only focus on what they're doing on the field, but, hey, this game transfers into your mental state as well. How can you train your mind to be a better athlete? And he's taken that next step of even hiring Coach Bird as a person on staff dedicated just to the mental aspect of the game. And I don't know if a lot of people, I think they're starting to move to that now, because they see, obviously, in the past few years, mental health has become more and more of a bigger topic for people to talk about. And I mean, he's taken that and ran with it. And it's like, hey, this is an important aspect of the game. This is something that I should be investing into my players for, because I want them to be mentally strong going into each game.
So I'm not familiar with Coach Bird. Did you say? So is he? Like a psychologist type, or what does he do?
So Coach Bird was the strength coach when they were at Missouri, and did a lot of that like mental training stuff on kind of like based in his strength performance training. And so he found that the mental aspect drives a lot of the performance aspect out of players. And so he's done a bunch of studies and different stuff like that and research. And Heupel felt he would be valuable asset to bring on the team to help with just how big of a mental aspect is now for players today.
Huh. That's good stuff. Hey, Ollie, again, where can we see you? I know you hang out with that shady character, John Penny.
Yeah, every Saturday morning, 11 a.m., ABC, Channel 6. No reason to ever turn the dial either because, SEC games just keep rolling on after that. So start a good morning with us and then get into your football Saturday.
Yeah. Just remember, don't ever text John before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I made that mistake this morning. All right. Ollie, have a blessed day, sir. Enjoy the weekend of football. It means a lot for you to be a part of the program. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good weekend.
I appreciate that. Ollie Lane, former Vol, joining us. How awesome is that? What he said about that mental toughness kind of wrapped itself back around to James Pierce needs to be mentally tough when he's facing these repeated double teams. So I'm glad they have somebody that works on the mental fortitude, so to speak. Caleb, I'm old enough to remember when a certain punter, I guess I could say his name now, I guess it was Dustin Colquitt, went to see a sports psychologist. I remember it was such a touchy subject that at one point, Philip Fulmer wasn't even sure if he could talk about it and talked about the HIPAA laws. So it wasn't that long ago, Caleb, that you couldn't even talk about the term sports psychologist. Now you can talk about that and you can be open about it. And I think these young men are probably better for it. I could have used someone to train me in mental toughness when I was 19, 20, 21 years old.
Are you telling me, Dave, that Bear Bryant's method in Junction, Texas in 1954 wouldn't work anymore? Have you know that story?
I do know that story. I think a lot of things that happened back in that day wouldn't work.
He'd go to prison if he did that today, wouldn't he?
Yes. And Mike Leach tried it with putting Trev Albert's son, and he had a concussion.
No, Craig James's son, excuse me.
Oops. But he tried that by putting a player who was concussed in a shed.
That's a little bit
okay. But my point is that got totally blown out of proportion. When in reality, what did they tell you to do with a concussion? They tell you to go in a cold, dark place because your senses can further the concussion symptoms. I'm not saying it was the right move. Maybe it was archaic. Maybe not a shed. But there's a lot more to that story.
Yeah. And so for our fans who don't know, in August of 1954, Bear Bryant, in the middle of the biggest drought in Texas history, went to Junction and had them practice from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m, 10 days straight with no water allowed during practice. And one player had a heat stroke. Bryant thought he was too soft. So while he was knocked out dying on the ground, Bryant kicked him and said, "Get up, dang it." And luckily the guy got saved. He got rushed to the hospital. But
I thought you meant saved from a religious standpoint. Because probably that as well after going through that.
And one of the quarterbacks during that took a tackle during that practice and partially fractured a part of his back. Luckily, it wasn't his spine. Doctor comes to him and tells him that he partially fractured part of his back, and he says, "Well, bangs and bruises happen in football."
It's a broken back, kids. Uncle Dave's story, if I may. I remember.
Go ahead, Uncle Dave.
Standing on the sideline, barely known as a reporter. This would have been the early 2000s, and one athletic director named Doug Dickey came and just decided he was going to talk to me as I was standing all alone. Usually we'd stand in a pack of reporters. This is when practice was open. And he comes up and he goes, "Look at that water. All we had was salt towels."
Yes, salt towels.
Yes, you would suck on a towel that had been soaked in salt.
And there would be two that the team would all have to share. And that's how they would, that was No, I'm serious. That's how they did it. And they thought it was funny enough. This came from military training methods. A lot of coaches in the 50s were World War II veterans, Bryant himself, and they saw what happened with military boot camps and things like that, and they tried to employ that for football. The Junction one went, but yeah, that one, Texas A&M went 1-9 that year, and Bear Bryant said he would have quit it. Someone did that to him, and he felt bad about that for the rest of his life. But yeah, the salt towels. I know what you're talking about.
Stat of the day coming up, brought to you by the UPS store Hardin Valley. They're there to help individuals and small businesses by offering a wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated and conveniently located. 10629 Hardin Valley Road, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. They're owned by a family of former Vols, so it's right down below, and they'll take care of you out in West Knoxville for any of your shipping needs or your promotional needs. They got you. All right, Caleb. So let's get to the stat of the day, brought to you by the UPS store Hardin Valley.
You're not going to like me. Y'all aren't going to like me for the stat of the day, and I'm going to apologize to you guys in advance. But only one other time in history has a redshirt freshman started for Tennessee in Fayetteville. Do you want to know who it was? Do you want to know what the stat line was that day?
Was I there?
Oh, yeah, you were covering it. You were there.
Yeah, I think I remember it. Go ahead.
In place of an injured Eric Gaines, Jonathan Crompton started for Tennessee at Arkansas in 2006 and was 16 of 34 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Wasn't his fault they lost that game, though, because they lost 31-14 because Darren McFadden had 30 carries for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Felix Jones added 13 carries for 72 yards. And Tennessee was 2 weeks removed from having one loss and being a borderline top 5 team and just looked outclassed on that day.
That was the ultimate of any game I've been a part of. And I've been around a lot of blowouts against significant opponents one way or the other. But there have been a couple of times where Tennessee just walked into a buzzsaw and you could kind of feel it you could feel it before the game. And that game you're talking about specifically, because College Game Day was there. They'd got beaten the previous year by Tennessee. There was a revenge factor, and you could just feel it. I mean, you could feel it that Tennessee was going to have to survive a first quarter on the road in order to be in the game. The other one, and it happened as far as a buzzsaw game that I saw on the flip side, would have probably been the Cal game when Tennessee knocked a player out on the opening kickoff. Do you remember that?
Oh, the 06 Cal game. Yeah, they were determined to prove that they were back from the 05 debacle.
Yeah, and they lost out there in 05 in the Rose Bowl, right?
No, they lost a year later in Berkeley. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was a buzzsaw game. Can you think of any buzzsaw games where like you've got to just survive the beginning of it and don't expect to win the first quarter, just survive the first quarter? Any that stand out in your mind? Those would be the two that I felt like one team was uber motivated.
Yeah, actually Arkansas of all teams. And after Arkansas beat Tennessee in 99, Tennessee in 2000 jumped out to a 35-0 lead on Arkansas in the first quarter. Just Casey Clausen's first freshman year, he threw like 5 touchdowns, and you could tell they were wanting a little bit of payback. Another buzzsaw game I think I saw, was, I'm trying to think. I've seen a buzzsaw half. Is that fair to say? And it wasn't even the first half, which was the second half of the 2016 Tennessee-Florida game. And the first half, I thought Tennessee they were on an 11-game losing streak. They lost the last 2 by 1 point after blowing 2-score leads in the fourth quarter because of Butch Jones' coaching. Florida comes into Knoxville, jumps out to a 21-0 lead. But if you watch that game, you knew Tennessee was actually outplaying them. Just a lot of things that happened. And you're like, if Tennessee could just move the ball and get going, they could beat the brakes off it. And I mean, the second half of that Florida game, Dave, you thought you were watching Tennessee unleash 11 years of frustration out on Florida. And they went off.
Talking about the Cal game, Travis says throwing poop from the trees in the Cal game. Yes.
Did they ever chop down that tree?
I don't know, but I remember walking underneath that tree, and like I always kept my nose down, didn't wear colors of either team specifically, and just wanted to get to the press box. And these people are always partying and having a good time, and I'm just trying to get there. And I didn't know that there was this dude protesting. Here's how he was protesting. He was up in a tree naked. So I was walking underneath the tree, and everybody's going, look at that. So I looked straight up. And guess the angle that I saw. It was not good.
You felt like Peyton Manning's trainer at that point. I'm sorry.
I felt like, yeah. I think in Jackass it was called the Gooch. All right, so coming up.
By the way, Cal will be that home field will be relevant to my picks later today. Just saying.
Teasing the picks. Look at how he does that. Just like he teases his son with the super chat money that's supposed to go to his college fund.
Yeah, I'll just I'll tell him at like 16. I'm like, Quincy, college may not be the best thing for you.
Trade schools are growing ever more popular by the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And he needs to go to trade school to pay off my gambling dets. So
yes, do me a favor.
Once I take out loans in his name. I'm kidding.
I'm joking. Yes, take a second, hit that like button. Hit that like button right now if you don't mind. Subscribe, continue commenting as we'll get to our bold predictions for the Vols and Razorbacks. That'll be Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, and that'll be coming up in just 2 minutes. I've been absolutely all over it, so I'll tell you what's going to happen in the game tomorrow. It'll be Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Hang tight, Caleb, and all of you out there listening. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Varner Ford in Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2018 Ford Mustang Convertible, 24,550, 2023 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, 29,789, 2022 Ford Escape SEL all-wheel drive, 26,975. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Varner Ford, built for the game.
That's hot.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
So our fan expectations too high. Now it's up to 20% saying win with style, as opposed to yes, just win. Your thoughts, Caleb?
I mean, I think winning with style does matter now. Football's entertainment. You talk about it all the time. At its roots, it's a TV show, isn't it? And sometimes you got to put on a show. Fans pay a lot of money.
Yeah, but you get to be in more shows if you just win ugly.
But do you want to be in more shows nowadays? I'm just saying,
Well, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. What are you saying?
If the show's boring, who wants more shows? I don't want to go see Cats, the musical, 5 times.
Okay, did you think that was boring, though, in any shape?
No, I don't. I like, you and I are from a different time. We love that. I'm seeing the way football wins over new fans now with it's not as fun to see the defensive slugfest because you don't get to see the hits anymore. Back in the day when you saw the defensive slugfest, you saw the hits. So you got to see people be punished. They're trying to nowadays with them trying to limit that, when you see those slugfests, you really just see not great offenses a lot of times. That's fair. Right. It's turning more into the 2005 Tennessee-Alabama game that was 6-3.
Interesting. All right. Tennessee versus Arkansas. Poll question. I'm concerned. All good. No worries. Nothing to see here. I do believe that this Arkansas team is not as good as Oklahoma. And a lot of things went wrong for Tennessee in the Oklahoma game. 2 strip sacks. They had injuries at offensive tackle. So I'll be honest with you. I think that, and we're going to get to bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank. I believe that Tennessee is still going to win this game handily. I feel even better about it after some film review, since I have to make my pick on Wednesday. Caleb's allowed a couple of more days, but Caleb, I feel even more certain about it as we'll get to bank on it.
I do too, but most models do not. I've checked a lot of models, and most models are very, very high on Arkansas, but they are not taking one thing into account that I will let you guys know about in a little while.
Okay, I like that. All right, let's go ahead and dig into it. It's Bank on It, brought to you by our fantastic friends at Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. Commercial Bank creates positive experiences for every customer every day with better solutions, better technology. Commercial Banks for personal and business. Commercial Bank, life made better. Go to cbtn.com. Bank on It, number 1. My bold predictions for Tennessee and the Arkansas game. Nico goes off over 300 passing yards. I believe firmly that he will have a fantastic day. And I don't think that the secondary, which has Danico Slaughter as the nickelback, can stop Tennessee's passing game. This will not be a slugfest, I don't believe. I don't believe Arkansas is nearly as physical as Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Nico's going to go off. Again, there's a lot more signs pointing to this. Arkansas is going to be the first team that really forces Tennessee to put the ball in the air. The field will allow Tennessee to air it out more. They're healthy at tackles now, so they can air it out more. I think Josh Heupel's ready to showcase Nico. And I said he was going to do it at Oklahoma, but there were a lot of extenuating factors that kept him from doing that. This is the week he's going to showcase him.
Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. James Pierce gets a sack, finally.
He gets 2.
Oh, look at Caleb.
Because Taylon Green, as Will West pointed out, likes to run to one side, and he just happens to run to the side that James Pierce is at.
Yeah, he always scrambles to his right side. I mean, it's glaringly obvious on tape. Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Former Vol Danico Slaughter gets scorched at some point. Oh, I think that's the easiest one.
So basically your prediction is that Squirrel White has a 50-yard touchdown.
Yes.
All right, I'm with you on that. Let's go. The only thing, I still think Brew McCoy is going to be the star receiver for Tennessee in this game, but I think Squirrel White will get a big touchdown.
Okay, Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. I saved the best for last. My number 4 bold prediction coming up. Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Bank on it. Addison Nichols gets blown up.
And who does the blowing up? Omar Norman Lott or Amari Thomas? Which one is going to be the one to humiliate him?
Or Elijah Simmons. Or
Elijah Simmons.
Omar Norman Lott doesn't get enough pub on this show for some reason. I don't know, but it's going to happen. And I think that for those looking for motivation, you just have to look to Addison Nichols being on the other team, and that would motivate me. I mean, Caleb, I love you. You know, I try to raise money for your son's education via the super chat. But, you know, I've been in this situation before in which somebody left for another competing company, and I'd still like you, but I would want to beat the bejesus out of you on a daily basis.
What if I left for a competing company and then I said, and you know, this is no disrespect to Dave, I loved it there, but I just needed to develop more over here?
Yeah, that would particularly perturb me.
Because that's exactly what Addison Nichols did.
Well, I mean, this is one of two things. Either it legitimately makes Tennessee mad, or they use it as an excuse to make themselves mad, like Michael Jordan did with, you called me Mike instead of Michael, or Michael instead of Mike, or whatever. You know, he came up with things to motivate him. And the fact that they've been named captains as well makes me believe that even further, Caleb, that this, you know, Arkansas is kind of rubbing their nose in it. Hey, we took two of your players, and it makes it look publicly like they pulled them away when you and I believe, especially in the case of Slaughter, that he was essentially shown the door. And the case with Addison Nichols is he wasn't happy with playing time. We talked to Ollie Lane about that previously. So them naming them captains makes it look like they stole two key components from the Vols, and nothing could be further from the case.
No, that's very true. And with Nichols, though, it's double because it's the captain thing, but it's the talking Nichols has been doing this week. And so I think Heupel really wants to humiliate him because Nichols questioned, again, he can say he didn't. He questioned Heupel's ability to coach. I hate when players are like, this is no disrespect on this person. I love it here. I loved it there, but he sucks. That's basically what Addison Nichols did because he said, I needed to develop more and I'd be stupid not to pick Arkansas and all these other things, which is code for these guys are better at coaching than Heupel and Glenn Ellerbe is. Now, I got my own things to say about Glenn Ellerbe. I said it yesterday and I'm going to stick by that. But at the same time, it was weird for Addison Nichols to do that. And it gives off the very vibe that he is throwing shade at the coaching staff directly. And Dave, is anybody in coaching pettier than Josh Heupel?
Probably not. I would agree. Probably not. Again, that's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Again, Commercial Bank, I banked with them ever since I was like 22. Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. Commercial Bank creates positive experiences for every customer every day with better solutions, better technology. Commercial Banks, personal and business. Commercial Bank, life made better. Caleb's picks will be brought to you by Work Trucks as he gets to work coming up next. So far, best job he's doing is throwing away money. What's your record, Caleb?
We'll get to that. I want to say on this just real quick.
Okay.
First, Dave, do you want to save your actual prediction for the game for the next segment, or do you want to give your prediction now?
I'll save it.
Okay. All right. Can I give a prediction of my own in this one?
Well, can we not do it all together?
No. I mean a prediction of what happened within this actual game, not the score.
Oh, the bank on it. Yeah, go for it. I'll tell you what, do this. You're thinking about it. Bank on it. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports. Please hit that like button.
Well, wait. No,
I want you to do it. Teasing it forward. You're not going to believe what Caleb has to say in 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
25th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Varner Ford in Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2018 Ford Mustang convertible, 24,550, 2023 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend, 29,789, 2022 Ford Escape SEL all-wheel drive, 26,975. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
All right, Caleb Calhoun, what do you got for me in terms of Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank?
Sam Pittman is going to burn a timeout before a special teams play in this game.
Why are you making fun of Sam Pittman? He's doing his best.
He's trying really hard.
Yes, he is trying very, very hard. And you just want to throw shade at Sam Pittman, and I have no idea why.
Are you not going to stand for it, Dave? Are you not going to stand for it?
No.
Sam Pittman, here's what's going to happen. Sam Pittman is going to burn a timeout because he didn't get his punt team on in time. I don't know when he's going to do it, but he's going to burn a timeout because he didn't get his punt team on in time. I actually, guys, can we make that the poll question? Will Sam Pittman burn a stupid timeout on Saturday?
No, we can't because I've already replaced the poll question. But any other bank on it?
Which is better? Oh, yes. And the other one, Dylan Sampson will not have 100 yards rushing in this game because I think Tennessee is going to throw the ball a lot more. So I just don't think that Tennessee is going to be able to I don't think he'll have a bad game. I just think he won't reach 100. Now, he may reach 100 all-purpose yards, but I don't think he'll reach 100 rushing.
Okay. I can go with that. We're going to have our drawing here in just one moment for our pick six glossy photos of Tennessee's defensive back. So you see what we did there? Pick six. And by the way, if we can go ahead and share the screen there, Caleb, of our good friends at Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. And Work Trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. It's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. Work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app pod, work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special, cranes and dump trucks, work trucks, supplies those vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, need to know work trucks with an X, and that's a fact. Work trucks with an X. Service industry work trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville and downtown Birmingham. For the entire inventory, just go to worktruckswithanxllc.com, worktruckswithanxllc.com. They'll have you fit to a T, proud supporter of the Vols. Caleb, last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn will be your picks. Can you share with me your record right now so far this season?
Well, I'm getting better on my overall picks by just hitting 500, but I'm still losing badly on it because I'm 60 and 83 overall. But however, on my best bets, the ones I do bet, for the third straight week, I went 3-2. So I'm now up to 11 and 19 because of those two horrible weeks, by the way, that happened. And you know what? I'd even be pushing a profit if Dave Aranda knew how to coach against the Hail Mary and if Hugh Freeze knew how to coach a quarterback to not throw a pick six. Okay?
How would you like to win 30% of your bets? Caleb Calhoun has
I'm telling you guys, it's a long game. Okay.
Yes.
I'm just a hitter who you know, those great hitters, Dave, that start April on like a 0 for 30 funk, but then it takes them a long time to get their average to 300. That's where I'm going to get.
Okay. It's also National Day of two very unique things, vodka and golf. So give us our poll question, Caleb, if you can.
Vodka or golf, which is better? 59% say vodka, 41% say golf.
I don't know why you give that away before we tell you that the last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and On. We'll take a look at Caleb's picks, and there's no gamble. Look at me. I have LASIK, no contacts, no glasses. I love it. Last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and On.
To visit ccteyes.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at ccteyes.com. Simply the best.
All right, my man, let's get to your picks as the poll question is this. It is, which is better, golf or vodka? It's National Golf Day and National Vodka Day. I don't know why in the world they would have National Golf Day in the fall. But anyway, National Vodka Day. I have to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of either of those. Caleb?
Me neither. I don't really like vodka and I don't really like golfing.
No. I do wish I would have learned to play golf, but I think I've told you this story. Fairways and Greens, which is a training facility in East Tennessee, as part of a radio show promotion, I went through the testing and they said, you have great strength, great flexibility, but you have the worst balance of anybody that we've ever tested in the history of this facility. No joke. So I tried, I bought the clubs, I did all that stuff, and it wasn't happening. All right, so here we go. I agree with Lance. Why not whiskey? Vodka is Barf City, just because it's National Day of. All right, so and now one Bloody Mary is okay as well. Okay, so Caleb, let's get to the picks, and I'll tell you whether or not I agree by a couple of sounds.
Hey now.
Or
That's crazy.
Yep, and you've got a lot of crazy ones, so that button's about to wear out.
So this is the week that chaos hits college football, and here's why. There are no games. There are no games featuring top 25 teams this week, Dave. But there are a bunch of top 25 teams going on the road to face unranked teams with winning records.
Yep.
And that is when you get things separated, isn't it?
Yeah, when you have that happen, crazy stuff will ensue. All right.
So I got some crazy ones.
Let's get to it.
All right. So the first one, one undefeated team is Missouri. They are visiting Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M covers the 2.5-point spread. Mike Elko has quietly built a 4-1 team after that rough loss. And I think Texas A&M covers the 2.5. I think the College Station crowd is too much for Eli Drinkwitz and company. And I think it becomes an offensive shootout with Texas A&M's new quarterback. And so they end up winning, I'm going to say, 31-24.
I agree with that. Missouri, are they the worst undefeated team that gets talk about playing for a national championship? I mean, does anybody really think that Missouri's going to be there at the end? I mean, we could make arguments against Alabama and arguments against Georgia if we wanted to. Those would be difficult. We could make arguments against Tennessee and Ole Miss, obviously, after the loss. But to me, Missouri, just on face value, I would be incredibly stunned if they're actually a factor in the college football playoff.
I would too. The two that are getting a lot of talk that are undefeated right now, Missouri and Indiana. Indiana is another team that may be more fraudulent than Missouri, but Missouri is pretty darn fraudulent, honestly. And so,
okay, well, if Indiana makes the college football playoff, it's just time to shut it down. Just postpone it and do it next year. Try again. I'm not even joking. I mean, if Indiana and Missouri make the college football playoff, then we're selling this puppy to whoever wants to buy off the hook sports, because I've completely seen enough and know nothing about football if Indiana and Missouri make the college football playoff, especially together, but Indiana alone. All right, Caleb, who's next?
All right, so next, controversial, but this is a week of you are not what your record says, which is to say teams that look really bad, so they're big underdogs based on their record, could be much better. One of those teams is obviously Auburn. They're 2-3, and if it wasn't for the fact that they throw interceptions all over the field, they'd be 5-0 right now. But they're in every game. So, visiting Georgia, I think take Auburn plus 22. I don't think Georgia covers that 22-point spread, and I'm going to say take the under. I think Georgia's a little demoralized after last week, so they're going to be lethargic. Auburn's got an ugly offense as is, but they'll make the game ugly. And because of that, they're not going to lose by 22, and I think the game hits the under.
Okay, I'd agree with that. Hey now. I thought you were going to go all rogue on Hugh Freeze, which you like to do for good reason, but no, you didn't. You went the other way, so good stuff.
Yeah, I think covers. All right, so now here's the next one. You know, South Carolina was on a roll, guys. They're coming off a bye, and Ole Miss just had a brutal loss. So obviously, facing Ole Miss at home, South Carolina is going to not lose by 9, where Ole Miss is favored by 9, right? Wrong. The reason Ole Miss lost last week is Mark Stoops totally changed up his game plan and had a very creative style against Ole Miss that Lane Kiffin wasn't ready for. Nobody thinks Shane Beamer's smart enough to do that unless Connor Stallions is giving him plays. Ouch. So I think Ole Miss covers the 9-point spread. They win by more than 9. And I think Jackson Dart looks like a Heisman candidate, so the game hits the over 53.5.
I would take Ole Miss minus 20. Hey now. All right, go ahead.
I totally agree.
Lane's mad. And by the way, I'm glad we didn't discuss it, but there's somebody at Ole Miss that gets paid to talk about fashion, and they did a story on his daughters and what they were wearing. Hey now. It's kind of creepy. It's very creepy.
Very creepy.
All right, getting back to Missouri real quick before we move forward with your picks. Will you read the poll question, Caleb?
Yeah, sure. Let's see what it says. Worst team in CFP talk is Missouri.
Worst.
Tigers.
Worst. We couldn't understand you.
The worst team in CFP talk is Missouri, Tigers, anyone else.
I mean, it's Missouri. There's
Missouri.
No debate. Who's second?
I mean, I think Indiana's the worst team in CFP talk, but
they're not really in CFP talk. I'm not kidding about shutting the whole thing down if Indiana makes it. That's not going to happen.
I'm just saying, that's Larry Bird country, okay? That's Bobby Knight. You're going to go choke a player, basically, if they make it. You're going to throw a chair, aren't you?
Okay, I will throw a chair. By the way, so if anybody can tell me really quick, like every state has a couple of nicknames, but if anybody can tell me on the chat really quick the funniest nickname that Arkansas has, then I'll hook you up with a T-shirt. How about that? All right, what's next, Caleb?
All right, so 3 more, and then we'll do our best bets. So, 2 more, we'll save Tennessee for last. But so Alabama, Vanderbilt, I think Alabama covers a 22.5-point spread. I know Vanderbilt's coming off a bye, but they don't look as good as they looked at the first 2 weeks. I don't think they're a good team, and their defense is absolutely horrendous, and Jalen Milroe is looking like a Heisman candidate. So Alabama minus 22.5 because they score at will, so take the over 54.5.
That's crazy.
No. I think that both teams, and you alluded to it slightly, I think both teams have a bit of a hangover because of the tough physical game they played in. So I think both teams, Alabama and Georgia, will fall a little bit short. of what you might think. So Richard guesses the all-natural state. It's not that. All right, what's next?
All right, next, by the way, I'm sorry, it's Vanderbilt. And Dave, I'm guessing you're weighing the fact that, Vanderbilt playing in Nashville, that home Vanderbilt crowd is going to be tough for Alabama.
There's nothing like Neyland West on a Saturday afternoon.
All right, so Florida is a 2.5-point underdog to UCF. I'm taking Florida. I'm taking Florida plus 2.5, and I'm taking the over 61.5 because both teams' defenses are horrible. We just saw UCF give up 48 points to Colorado and not be able to pressure Shedeur Sanders when Colorado has one of the worst offensive lines in college football. I think because of that, Florida's going to be able to score at will. So I actually think take Florida plus 2.5 against UCF and take the over. And I would actually say take Florida money line in this one. I think they actually win outright, but I got a better money line on my best bets.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't see that. I think Florida's an up and down team. I would not even think about so Rustastic made me laugh. I wouldn't even think about doing anything with Florida financially. Okay, so it is I still don't have it. The answer in the chat board as to the nickname that Arkansas has that they should be embarrassed about. Rustastic took my favorite Alabama joke that I use for every Alabama week and have for a number of years. Do you want to read that one, Caleb?
Yeah, the toothbrush was invented in Arkansas. If it was invented anywhere else, it would be the teeth brush. By the way, that joke applies. Every southern state makes that joke at another southern state.
Not Tennessee.
Like that is total bullshit.
No, people do.
I know, but it's especially funny with Alabama. All right, still, I don't have the answer that I'm looking for. You can win a T-shirt, but no.
Arkansas is the natural state, and hookers love natural states. But that Arkansas is called the natural state.
Okay. I'm aware of that, but there's another one out there that's better, and I thought Rustastic had it for a second. The Bear State. No, that's not what I'm looking for, Richard. What's next, Caleb?
All right, so those are all. I'll save Tennessee for the end. Now I'm going to go to my best bets, and by the way, you're wrong about Florida. They're coming off a bye. They're going to blow out UCF, actually. I think they may win convincingly. All right, so my best bets. The only one of the SEC ones that I said was my best bet was Alabama Vanderbilt. You may disagree with me on the spread, but what about the over? I think the over 54.5. I think that game's going to go way over that score.
I'm going to disagree. I think that I think both teams' offenses were a little beat up, but we shall see.
But Vanderbilt's defense is air, so no, that's the best bet on the over of the week. You're wrong. Sorry. All right, so the best cover. Oregon's going to cover the 23.5-point spread against Michigan State. Oregon started slow, but they've been blowing out teams recently. And Michigan State, 23.5, I think take Oregon to cover that because they are blowing teams out in the games at Oregon.
Okay. All right. And what's next?
UCLA at Penn State. Penn State's favored by 28. I say take UCLA plus 28. Penn State's not going to win by 28. Their offense is shady. And for the third week in a row, Dave, I'm picking UCLA to cover the spread while losing in a blowout because the spread's just too large against them.
Hey now. Okay, I'll roll with you on that one.
All right, and then I'm going to give you my under, and then I'll give you my super dog. Sorry. So my under of the week is Michigan at Washington. Man, take the under 41.5. This game might go under 30.
Hey now. I would agree with that. And we'll get your big one brought to you by Asia Cafe, asiacafe.org. Asia Cafe, by the way, has over 5 locations to choose from. And you can go to asiacafe.org and order that fantastic 6-to-1 Brazilian cocoa energy booster premix instant white coffee from the Lim dynasty. He has carried the torch as a Philip Lim I'm talking about, 3rd-generation family business. And he's right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. We ate there last night, and it was twice this week. It's so good. AsiaCafe.org, and you can go online and order that coffee. It'll be a game changer. So, Caleb, your big pick is, and then we've still got our big prize to give away. Our pick 6 brought to you by Sports Treasures.
Well, we also have to bet. We also have to pick Tennessee, but yeah.
Yes, and we'll do that too. I'm just teasing forward.
Alrighty, so my big pick. Now, if you want the safe super dog, go with Florida plus 2.5 and go with them on money line. But you disagree with me on that, Dave. So I'm going to take a 10.5-point underdog at home. And they are branding this game woke versus Coke. And I'm betting on woke. And what I'm talking about is Miami has to visit Cal in Berkeley this week. And Cal, the game's at 10:30 Miami time, 7:30 Cal time. Miami should have lost last week to a bad Virginia Tech team. I think they're coming undone just a little bit, and Cal's coming off a bye. So I'm betting that Woke upsets Coke this week.
It's the worst. Another Uncle Dave story. Ed Orgeron speaking to the quarterback club. And, well, I'm going to tell you, everybody loves Warren Saplings on Saturday. Nobody loves getting the M16 out of his dorm room on Monday.
What?
It's actually happened. And in front of the quarterback club, everybody just was stunned. And this was early in the year, so everybody thought that Tennessee was going to roll with Kiffin for a decade. And he said that, and everybody's like, what in the world have we gotten ourselves into? Because those are the big-time boosters of the program. There's like 150 or 200 of them. Oh, nobody wants to get the M16 from his dorm room on Monday. What?
Was he drunk at the quarterback club?
I mean, it was noon and he had an afternoon practice, so I would hope not, but I'm not ruling it out.
I'm just
nothing like a Red Bull and vodka to get your day started. All right.
And so, well, wait, do you agree with me? Do you think Cal pulls the upset, Dave? I want to know if Dave's going to go. Are you going to go in with me, Dave? Are you going to go in with me on this? If you agree with me, I will put some of Quincy's college fund towards it. I'm kidding. I won't.
I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in. I really do like that pick, honestly.
I do too.
But what odds would you get on a straight up money bet?
No, that's what I'm doing. This is a money line bet. So Cal Miami money line, I think it was plus 350 going into the week. So you bet.
Steven says the Diamond State. I live here, but have no clue what you're looking for. Okay, here it is. All right. Arkansas is known as the toothpick state because of the common practice of men carrying large knives in the early days of the state. Men in Arkansas often carried large sheath or belt knives known as double-edged dirks or daggers. These knives were inexpensive and served as a common sidearm. So that's considered a toothpick out there. They're also known as the natural state as well.
That is wild.
Toothpick state.
Toothpick state. Oh my! What in the world?
That makes me think of a more redneck state than the toothbrush joke thing, because you think of maybe I've got some relatives that live in Alabama, but one of them, maybe my uncle, and he may always have a toothpick in his mouth. That's probably true.
Well, you know what's funny that throws me off is that, did you know a lot? Because I know we all know where the term redneck kind of comes from. It actually derives from. It comes from labor unions in the coal industry, funny enough. A lot of people think it came from the whole sunburn on the farmers' necks. That's actually not true. It came from members of labor unions in the coal industry who would oftentimes wear red bandanas to signify their loyalty with other labor leaders.
I used to use the term, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
I'm just saying it's funny because when you think redneck, you do think the farmers and the suntan, but it's like, they also say it came in Appalachia. And as you and I both know, Dave, Appalachia is not as sunny as like an Alabama or a Mississippi or an Arkansas.
I used to use the term redneck all the time, like instead of hillbilly. I didn't know that it had racial overtones.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, that it has racial. Yeah. So the difference between hillbilly and redneck is a lot of times when people say redneck, they're referring to someone that's racist. Now, that's not across the board, but I think it was Fred White. I referred to someone as a redneck, and he said, I would have never known that. And I said, yeah, he's a country boy. And he goes, wait a second. Do we mean the same thing when we say redneck? So I think it was Fred.
Oh, my gosh. I never
But anyway,
that.
yeah, I just used to throw it around flippantly. All right, so we got to get stuff away.
Well, we got to give our Tennessee pick first, then we'll give stuff away.
All right. My pick is online, 42-13. I think Tennessee wins. A terrible, terrible passing defense, and I think Nico has a big game and they win easily.
You know, the models are all saying Arkansas is going to cover this at plus 11, but what people don't realize is Josh Heupel against the spread since he's been at Tennessee, 3-0 off a bye against the spread.
Spread buster.
And so Tennessee is going to cover the 13.5-point spread at Arkansas, and the game is going to hit the over 56.5. Now, Dave, you're calling the under. You're going to say it hits the under because you're saying 42-13. I'm going to go over. So I'm going to go 49-13.
Because of Tennessee's defense, I'm going to err on the side of the under in most games. I'll go ahead and tell you that. So let's go ahead and give away some stuff. How does that sound, Caleb?
Let's roll. Let's do it.
All right. Let's go to our wheel. Now, by the way, it's very easy to be a part of this. We're going to give away shirts on a weekly basis. And this is for the Pick six glossy photos that are signed by the current Tennessee defensive backs. So we're going to go ahead and roll. And we'll tell you how you can be a part of this weekly giveaway. So I will click the white hole of spinning. And here we go. Oh, man. The drama is now. Oh, my gosh. Is it going to be Crawdad?
Hey, now.
Crawdad wins. All right, Crawdad, I'll reach out to you. You win the Pick six glossy photos of Tennessee starting defensive backs. The awesome big news is that I want to share with you. If you can take that screen down, is our next pick. Our next gift is just through the roof. Awesome. I mean, this guy should be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. I don't know why he's not, but if you want to go ahead and sign up to Hooker's Corner, you can win this item right here, and it's pretty awesome. And we'll pull it up. It is a mini football helmet autographed by the guy that should be a Heisman Trophy candidate, Dylan Sampson. That's right. And all you have to do is be a member of Hooker's Corner. I want to just find out what this crazy piece of software does when I pull this up. There it is. Right there. You can be a part of Hooker's Corner, and we greatly appreciate that. And if you do so, then you'll be eligible for that Dylan Sampson autographed mini helmet that we'll be giving away at the end of this month. So certainly thank everyone for being a part. If you want to join Hooker's Corner, it's just $9.98 a month. Increased recruiting coverage, more interaction with me and Caleb Calhoun. We will visit with you after the game on Saturday night. That'll be the last look, brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. We absolutely love our post-game show. Think you will as too. So for Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.